Location. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you remain standing, we have our police chaplain, Rupert Vega.
Will you please bow your heads? Gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you today, giving you honor, glory, and praise. Lord, you are the source of all that is good, and we are grateful for all the blessings you've bestowed upon us. We thank you for our wonderful city of Santa Ana, our honorable mayor, city council, chief of police, and our courageous police officers. We thank you for our freedom and the opportunity to unite together this day. We ask for your hand of blessing to be upon tonight's meeting and proceedings. We thank you for your grace, your unending love and wisdom. And we ask that you would guide and direct our meeting, and that it be of sound wisdom, and that it be productive and with respect towards one another. Thank you, Lord, for helping us to accomplish our work and our goals this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. We have a brief presentation from Andrea West, from the Government Affairs Representative out of OCTA.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Andrea West with OCTA.
Maria, can you take care of the mic, please? Go ahead.
It's my pleasure to be here this evening, and tonight we wanted to give you an update on the I-5 freeway project as well as the State Route 55 freeway project, and I have members of our technical team here that will go over that. Before I call them up, I did want to announce to you, Director, we recently came to a partnership with Santa Ana College to provide free OCTA bus passes to all students. They actually voted in a transportation fee, student body wide, and so it's a 3-year pilot program. It'll start with the beginning of this school year. The first year of the funds is covered through OCTA state funds, and then the years 2 and 3 are covered by the student transportation fees. So I think that's a really great opportunity to help our bus ridership, to make sure students have the opportunity to get to school, to address parking issues that I know are problems for schools countywide. So I just want to let you know that was passed by the OCTA board yesterday and the Santa Ana College Board of Trustees last night. So I think that's great news, and we'll have more information to city staff as we develop our marketing materials to help get the word out on that. For our freeway projects, we have Niall Barrett here, who's our I-5 project manager, Stephen King over there, who's our 55 project manager, and then Chris Buckley, who handles the outreach on both projects. So they'll give you just a quick update on where we're at, and then if you have any questions, we can address those.
Thank you, Andrea. Good evening. As Andrea said, my name is Niall Barrett, the project manager for the I-5 HOV Improvement Program project. Thank you again for allowing us to be here tonight. Can you see? Is it up? There is a PowerPoint. Okay, thank you. So, by way of background, today there are currently about 380,000 motorists that use the I-5 between the 55 and the 57. Those numbers are expected to increase by approximately 7% over the course of the next 15 years or so. And so the existing HOV lanes that are out there were constructed almost 20 years ago. And frankly, today those HOV lanes are congested and they don't hit the speeds that they need to hit, which is 45 miles an hour during congested periods. And so the project is proposing to add a second lane on the I-5 between the 55 and the 57. And in order to do that, we will remove the existing barrier between the HOV lane, which is a high occupancy lane, and the general purpose lanes that you have out there. We'll also stripe for continuous access where we can along the I-5, so it'll be a lot easier to get in and out of those HOV lanes. We also plan to remove the existing HOV drop ramp at Main Street, North Main Street, and that gives us the right-of-way in order to construct our project. The construction schedule is from mid-2018 to mid-2020. And OCTA are delivering this project in conjunction with Caltrans as well. So just to give you an idea, here is the project location map, and you can see that it is again between the 55 and the 57 on the I-5. So one of the key elements of our project is, as I mentioned, to eliminate the existing drop ramp from North Main Street. And in yellow, you can see approximately the right-of-way that this frees up within the freeway in order then to add that second HOV lane in each direction on the freeway. In orange, it shows the bridge connector that gets you to and from that drop ramp, and so that in orange will also be demolished. The idea here is that we will demolish that in 3 phases at night time, and so we will need to close either portions or potentially all of the I-5 freeway northbound at night as we demolish each section of that bridge. So when that takes place, we will have detour routes. If we need to close the entire northbound I-5, we will detour traffic north on the 55 and then west on the 22 freeway. In addition, we will have other closures closer to that part of the project, and so we'll have other locations where traffic will either exit or entrance back onto either the 5 or onto the 55 or the 22 to get people more, people who live or work within the city of Santa Ana to and from and back onto that freeway. So we have a couple of agreements as well that we need to process with the City of Santa Ana. The first being the standard freeway agreement, and this is between Caltrans and the city. And these are typical agreements. We have prior agreements from 1947, 87 and 94, and this will supersede those agreements and include a lot of the standard language that's in that. So when you change the ingress or the egress to the freeway, which is what we will be doing, then we need to get this agreement signed also. The second agreement is a cooperative agreement between the Orange County Transportation Authority and the city, and this helps address some wayfinding signs to get people to and from and around the city. So if you're coming south on the 55 and today you might exit at the main street if you're in the HOV lane, we need to make sure that people know in advance to get over and off the freeway. And then also this cooperative agreement allows us to fund additional signage on the city streets to help people get around by Buffalo and Santa Clarita, I think it is, over to Main Street to get people back north to get access to the Discovery Cube, for example, who are one of the main beneficiaries of the existing HOV ramp. So also on the freeway, as I mentioned, we will have a new signage on the freeway which helps people understand that the existing exit from the freeway will be going away, and this will also help people get off the freeway in time so that they can exit at Broadway. Again, the schedule is from April 2018 is approximately when the contract will be ready to go and will be complete in mid-2020, and we have construction
If I may, let me just see if I can entertain a question too from the council, because we've got a pretty heavy agenda coming, and there's other speakers as well from OCTA. So right now on the 55, are there any questions?
Yes, just
Council
really
Mayor
quick.
Pro Tem?
Thank you. Just very quickly, Mayor, and thank you for coming here and presenting. I just had a quick question. You said that most of the construction is going to happen at night. Do we know at approximately what time that's going to occur?
When we need to close the freeway, that'll happen between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m.
10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Okay, great. So that's my first question. And then the second one, the communication and outreach efforts, specifically, as you mentioned, in the Buffalo, Main Street, using the HOV with the Discovery Science Center. How will we communicate with the Santa Ana constituents and broader Orange County that, we're going to be going through this construction phase? And it's going to be, what's the time period? It seems like it's over a year.
Yes, what I would say is that the demolition of the drop ramp will be over a number of nights, perhaps 8 or 9 individual nights.
Okay.
And we will have an extensive outreach program to let people, especially the residents in the neighborhood, know what's coming up as we get closer to the demolition.
And just with technology today and Waze and Google, and sometimes those traffic applications can divert us into the neighborhoods or exiting off other areas. Is it possible that you all will be working with a company like Waze and making sure that they're not dropping folks off another exit, going into a neighborhood and speeding to get to point A to point B?
Right. Yeah, we will endeavor to do that as well.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And then we have also Councilor Benavides.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here, bringing this presentation to us in our community. 2 questions for clarification. So the goal here, the improvement, is to add a second HOV lane. Will that be within the current right-of-way, or will there be any take or widening of any sort?
There are no right-of-way needs on this project.
Okay. Will then there be a loss of one general purpose lane to turn that into an HOV lane, or is there enough?
We keep the same number of general purpose lanes. So as the photograph, the overhead shows that we do have some right-of-way which is currently taken up by that drop ramp, and that allows us to stay within the existing freeway footprint.
Okay, so adding an HOV, not keeping the same general purpose lanes, and the main loss, if you will, would be the bridge, if you will.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? I know we have Councilor Solorio.
Yes, on the 55 enhancement project, I think it's my understanding that the widenings there are primarily from the 5 freeway to the 405. And my worry is that as we, add more lanes there, we're going to worsen the bottlenecks that occur, around the 55 intersections with the 405 and the 55 respectively. So you really got to widen, south, west of the 405 and northeast of the 5 to not make those interchanges or all the blending of the lanes and the traffic worse than it is, because I drive that stretch of the 55 quite a bit. What are the plans to mitigate a worsened bottleneck scenario there?
If I can hand it over to the project manager for the 55 project, Stephen King.
Great, thank you.
Good evening. Would you like me to continue with the presentation or answer directly?
Jose, do you have a preference?
I think the question that I asked, it doesn't show the interchanges on the slides, but there's one, though, that shows how many additional lanes are being added in that stretch.
I can go directly to that.
Yeah, so at least my colleagues in the audience could kind of get a sense of how much we're going to add. This is on the 55 between the 5 freeway and the 405. Right. And my concern are, beyond those limits.
Yes. So this slide here in general shows the existing condition on the top. In some locations, we do have some auxiliary lanes between interchanges. The selected preferred alternative will add those auxiliary lanes between each of the interchanges along the corridor. And OCTA also has another project to the north on 55 between 5 and 91 that will help augment some of that continuity between
so that part's
corridor.
Good. How about south?
As of right now, we do not have any projects south of the 405 identified in the Measure M program.
Okay. That might be just something to think about, because if not, folks are going to be at a slow speed fairly. It's going to speed up, and then they're going to get to the 405, and then it's going to be a worse bottleneck than it is now. So
Certainly.
I know you do make amendments to the measure and plan from time to time, and I really would like OCT to consider that.
All right. Thank you. I'll take that back.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. As Niall and Andrea said, my name is Stephen King. I'm the project manager on the 55 corridor project. Give a brief update and take any additional questions you may have.
Make it real brief.
Yes, sir. As you know, the corridor is very congested. We have a number of alternatives studied, and we released the draft environmental document out for public circulation in November of 2015, and then it was re-released after some revisions earlier this year in April of 2016. As noted here in the cross-section, we had alternative 3 modified was selected as the preferred alternative, which will add 1 general purpose lane in each direction, 1 HOV lane in each direction, and auxiliary lanes where they currently don't exist between the interchanges. As you can see on this chart here, the traffic operations improved significantly with alternative 3 modified, serving the greatest number of people between each of the alternatives studied. This slide shows the schedule of what's to come. We're currently at the end of the environmental study. We will wrap that document up in September, and we'll move straight away into the final design phase and hope to get to construction in 2020. Construction would then be complete at the end of 2023. And this was just a summary of what some of those upcoming activities were. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Benavides?
Thank you, Mayor. So again, just for clarification here, what I'm showing is that we have currently 1 HOV, 4 general purpose, a 4-foot shoulder and a 10-foot shoulder, and the alternative you're still showing the 4-foot shoulder and the 10-foot shoulder, and somehow adding 2 additional lanes that within the current right-of-way that without any takes?
There are some right-of-way acquisitions that will be required on this project, a little more significant than the I-5, but traditionally it's going to be sliver acquisitions and temporary construction easements along the entire 4-mile length.
I see. Impacts to businesses that Santa Ana businesses that run along the 55, will that be part of the impact that we'll see as well?
There could certainly be some temporary impacts with respect to the businesses, and there are 2 identified potential full acquisitions within the corridor.
Okay. Is any of that information in here as to what the full takes might be?
Not in the slides, but we can provide that to you.
If you can provide it subsequently, that'd be helpful. And then if you can just clarify what an auxiliary lane is.
That's a merging lane, so when you enter onto the freeway, you have a continuous lane all the way to the next off-ramp.
I see.
So that would be the auxiliary lane. It allows for merging and weaving to get on and off the freeway.
Okay, perfect. If you can provide some of that follow-up information as to the takes and all, that'd be helpful. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Seeing none, let's continue.
Thank you, Mayor Polito. Council members, good evening. My name is Chris Buckley, and I oversee outreach for both the I-5, what we call the I-5 Central County Improvements Project and the SR-55 Improvements Project. So our objective with outreach, as Councilmember Martinez mentioned, is to ensure that the public is fully aware of the projects, understands how they will be affected by them, and knows whom to turn to with their questions. We start by preparing a pretty detailed communications plan. We flesh that out throughout the course of a project through all its phases, so we're pretty well built out on our communications plan for the I-5 Central County project, and we're continuing to build it on the SR-55 project. As we build out that database, we also track issues, and we track it by geography, so we have a good sense of where hotspots are and areas that we really need to target. We also establish branding for each project. You can see our project logos in the upper right-hand corner for this, and it gives people a sense of, okay, they know what a given project is about and whether they need to pay attention or not, so they can quickly access the information. All of this is done, of course, through a filter of diverse community engagement so that we make sure that all audiences that are affected by our projects are addressed. When it comes to the SR55 project, as Stephen noted, we're ending the environmental phase, moving into the design phase. We will continue building on the relationships that we've developed for those in that project, which in a lot of ways are the same as the I-5 Central County Improvements Project. And we'll keep those stakeholders updated throughout the various phases. We hit certain milestones in the design, and we'll touch base with stakeholders throughout that process. When it comes to the HOV improvement project between the 55 and the 57, we're focusing our efforts right now on communicating the construction schedule and staging, talking about major events that are coming up and the accompanying closures and detours. As Niall mentioned, we have a significant event with the bridge demolition and stages. We use a variety of communication methods. I've listed some of the channels that we use up here. Waze is a company that we have a relationship on other projects, the 405 being one of them. We'll continue to build on that relationship and communicate directly with them on closures and detours, and try to emphasize it's hard because that application is really driven a lot by people who are driving and the comments they're making. But we'll do our best to try to encourage people to use the detours that have been outlined in the transportation management plan as part of the project. Our team includes several members who are bilingual, and all of our materials will be available in Spanish and English and other languages as needed, so we can adjust quickly. Before construction begins, though, we're about 10 months or so away from construction. We'll be meeting with a lot of key stakeholders, and it ranges from Main Place Mall to Discovery Cube to the local chambers of commerce. We talk to Kiwanis of Santa Ana, the Park Santiago neighborhood, all of the people who have been involved in this project from the start. So we'll be touching base. We've already got almost 24 meetings set up between now and the end of the month. The end of September.
Ike, we've got a quick question.
Just very quickly,
absolutely.
It's great that you're going after organizations, but specifically on the 55, that corridor, we have a lot of industry, a lot of manufacturing,
right.
A lot of different businesses there. They have different hours of operation. When I went out there to I toured a couple of those businesses, one of the major issues is the 55 freeway and hours of just the congestion there, period. And so now that's going to even be disrupted with this construction, giving them ample notice and possibly bringing them to the table, those big employers that are there, and even those smaller employers that may be impacted.
Right. We have a very thorough database of those employers. Everybody within a half mile of the project. We'll be hitting those folks door to door and talking to them, for sure.
And I believe Councilor Sarmiento.
Yeah, thank
Sure.
you for your presentation, and a lot of what was said are my sentiments as well. I think on outreach, because we have a hard to reach population, I think
Right.
you have to use some creative ways to maybe focus in, on folks. We do have a lot of people that are part of our chamber, a lot of people that are part of the database that you've already gathered, but because some of our folks, go through Spanish language media, whether it be radio or whether it be print press. Those are ways to approach that, I think, a little bit more effectively when we've dealt with other agencies that have tried to, outreach to some of our Spanish-speaking population especially, and those that don't, aren't on social media and may not have access to emails and other things. So, to the extent you can be a little bit, drill down a little deeper for our folks.
Yes, thank you. Those are great recommendations. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Please go ahead and continue.
Just one more slide. This slide, my colleague Jessica Lopez and I, we oversee outreach on this. We've got a team behind us of another 2 or 3 folks who will help us. We have phone number, project helpline. We have websites. We're on social media. We answer every phone call and every question within 24 to 48 hours at 48 hours at most. So, and we'll be out there, hitting the street and making sure we talk to everybody. Any other questions?
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilor Solorio, anybody? All right. So if no more questions, then I'm going to say thank you. Thank you to OCTA, and keep up the good work. And, we appreciate you visiting us. Take care.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to do something out of order at the request of several council members, I'm going to take item 55B before anything else. Madam Clerk, we have speakers on 55B. I'm also going to tell you we have something like 46 cards, and so I'm going to request, if possible, that you...
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Since we have that many cards, we only have about 4 certificates to give out?
Although I think we have a plan. I spoke to the leadership, and they're going to gravely reduce the number of speakers.
Gravely?
Gravely.
Okay, all right, I'm good.
All right. So, and their leader, if you said, take me to your leader, the leader would be the second guy from the left covering his face, Ernie Medrano. All right, so let's see how well this works. Avelino Valencia III from Assemblyman Tom Daly's office. He chooses not to speak. You did a good job.
Very quickly, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Once again, Avelino Valencia, representing the office of Assemblymember Tom Daly. Thank you for the opportunity to read a letter supporting the Community Workforce Agreement. The letter quickly reads, I wholeheartedly support the Community Workforce Agreement for the city's capital improvements. The uniqueness of these types of agreements is that they provide a sound community benefit through local and veteran preference higher language, providing our community with paths to middle-class careers in the construction sector. When local residents work in our community, they also invest their hard-earned wages in our community as consumers. It furthermore provides direct entry opportunities for veteran employment through the Helmets and Hard Hats program in the agreement. I applaud all the parties for including this in the agreement. All of this is done for the same total labor cost that is established by the current state's prevailing wage for public works. So there's no additional cost to the public. There is a growing need to provide career opportunities for high school and college graduates and other residents. The building trades provide these opportunities through the Joint Labor Management Training Program, so that an apprentice is learning and earning in the respective trade as they strive to achieve journey-level certification.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ernie Medrano, you're next, and we're going to see how well you keep control of this. 0 for 1.
Good evening, Mr.
0 for 1.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council staff. Ernesto Medrano, Los Angeles and Orange County Building and Construction Trades Council, representing about 140,000 hard-working men and women in the construction industry. First and foremost, I'm here to urge you to vote in support of the Community Workforce Agreement that was diligently worked very hard on. And before I go any further, I want to thank the staff that's here, that we worked very hard, a lot of hours, a lot of time, very robust dialogue and conversation to come up with this very fruitful agreement. And essentially what this agreement provides to you is local hire, and primarily for Santana residents. It provides for veteran hire, veteran preferences. It provides for support for the Helmets to Hard Hats program. That provides for direct access from veterans into our apprenticeship programs. It provides for opportunities for young people here in Santana that choose not to go to college, but choose to work with their brain in their hands and enter our apprenticeship programs. And we think that's a very good thing when one of our apprentices could turn out, can become a journey level person and earn over $60,000 a year and doesn't need a college degree, because that is the other 4-year college degree. We're also very proud that this agreement will provide you, the city, with a skilled and trained workforce for construction to build all of your capital improvements and all of your infrastructure. It also provides a very efficient method of a no strike, no lockout provision. So we will continue to work no matter what goes on. And all of this comes for the same labor costs as you've already been paying. That's the prevailing wages established by the state of California. So just one thing I want to say is, all of my brothers and sisters of the trades, please stand. These individuals are ready to go to work to rebuild Santana, to go in there and build all the capital improvements here. We're ready to don our work boots, our hard hats, and our tool belts, and we're ready to go to work. We urge you to vote yes. Thank you.
Good job, Ernie. Thank you. John Hanna. And John, after you, it'll be Adrian Esparza, and then it'll be up to the 3 of you to control it from then on out. Go ahead, John.
All right. John Hanna, the Government Affairs Director for the Southwest Carpenters. Thank you, council members. I want to thank Ernesto Medrano, Ron Miller, Ray Vandernat on the building trade side, and as well as your city attorney and the staff here for coming up with a good community workforce agreement. Though I'll second what Ernesto said, and I'll add that those who are in the operating engineers, the electrical workers, and the carpenters, the apprentices that you will have out of this agreement will be getting academic credit at the Rancho Santiago Community College District, and Santa Ana College will have a pre-apprentice program not only for the carpenters, but I believe the building trades have made sure that that's going to be available for all the trades, so you can make sure that there's a pathway for success for our young people coming in here. With that, I'm just short in my time, and I would urge the council to support this measure.
Thank you, John. Adrian, please.
Thank you, City Council members, Honorable Mayor, staff. I'm going to echo what Ernesto Medrano spoke on, and I want to urge you to vote yes on this community workforce agreement, and you will get skilled, trained workforce, whether it be through the apprenticeship program, your skilled labor journeymen, through all crafts in general here, and provide money back into the city that we so truly love. And I'm here on behalf of my members, Labor Local Union 652, over 3,000 members that I represent in this city, and we urge you to vote yes on this agreement.
Keep up the good work. Thank you. All right, now we have David Lawhorn, followed by Ray Vandernat.
Good morning, evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Dave Lawhorn. I'm with the Electrical Apprenticeship here in Orange County, which is located in Santa Ana on Lion Street. Just want to show our support of the community workforce agreement with the LA Orange County Building Trades, and on behalf of our apprentices, with over close to 100 that live here, are residents in Orange County, I would like to thank, on behalf of them and our business manager, Richard Samaniego of IBW Local 441, to ask for your support in this community workforce agreement.
All right, I'm getting my fellow council members telling me we're ready to vote. Let's just...
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Mr. Mayor. We have a motion for approval.
I'll second.
And a second.
Comment, please.
And brief comments.
Brief comments.
First and foremost, thank you, Ernesto Medrano. We sat together at the old Susie Q's over there and had a nice little breakfast to talk about what it would take to bring a project labor agreement here. And you've been diligently working with my colleagues up here to make sure that it came to fruition. Everyone else that's out there today, everyone has had a piece of this. Everyone has had input into this. And I believe this is the only city to have a project labor agreement in the history of Orange County and in a municipality. So I think we're making the kind of history that really brings jobs to this city, to this community, and powers our youth, our veterans, and every single Santa Ana resident out here. So long live the project labor agreement. Let's get ready for a strong vote, and let's go kick some butt and do some good work.
Any other comment, Councilor Sarmiento, and then Mayor Pro Tem? Everybody's going to speak on this, so we'll just come down the line. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I think Councilman Tinajero said it well. It's a historic day, so let's all recognize that, right? Because we're witnessing something that's taken a while. I know we sat down, I think, in mid-2016 to think about this, and we wanted Santa Ana to lead the path, and here we are. And good things come to those who wait. So thank you, Ernesto. Thank you, Doug, Brent, and Robert just sent me a text. Robert Ruiz sends his best. I guess he's a little under the weather, but he's here in spirit with us as well. So look, all I wanted to ask of our staff, and I was looking through the RFCA, and it shows that there may be a fiscal impact that's discussed there, about 10 to 20% increase to the cost. Just for clarity's sake and for the record, I wanted to make sure that those are findings that are very, I don't want to say arbitrary, but the findings could vary from zero to whatever the figure could be. You could skew things a certain way, but I think what I don't want to have happen is for it to be misleading that we're adding to the cost, because I think Ernesto spoke to that well. The cost is going to be maintained, and something that we're not thinking about is the multiplier effect that we have when we hire local folks, right? Folks are going to be spending that money here in town. We're going to be employing people who are our neighbors and our residents here in the city. So these are non-quantifiable values that we're receiving as a result of this effort. So that's important. So I think, Mr. Cortez, you wanted to speak to that. I know we spoke about this before the meeting.
Sure, absolutely. Mayor and City Council members, just a point of clarification, there was research conducted by our staff, and we felt that there was an array of different ranges that went from either cost neutral all the way up to 20% when implementing an agreement such as this one. So staff felt it was important to include a range within the fiscal impact. But one thing to note is that the range that's included in there and the figures included in there should not be considered an absolute. We will, on a go-forward basis, review every single project to see if there's any potential cost increases, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. And with that clarification, I just wanted to make sure that the public understands, even if there was an additional cost, I think it's offset by the benefit that this brings to our community with jobs, with employment, with people spending money in our town and keeping the dollars local. Right, that's the key in keeping people working. So thank you to everybody that had a role in it. Thank you to staff, because I know it's been a long process. And again, sometimes to be the first one out the gate is not easy because we have to do a lot of the legwork. There's nobody to follow. But that's normally what we've done here in Santa Ana. So thank you all. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now I'll be very brief. I have been working on this, I think, with Ernesto and others for, at least 10 years. This is not something that we discussed in 2016. This has been our entire history here that I've been on this city council. And, it's taken us time to get here. And I want to thank you all for your patience because it's not only been talking with you, Ernesto, or Ron Miller or others that are in this room, and Mr. Esparza, and prior to your predecessor, we discussed this time and time again, but I really believe that it took an effort of this majority of this council and our staff, and in particular Ernesto and your leadership, to continuing to have this conversation and looking at other best practices, like in the city of Long Beach, where we were able to look at models as such. And so I want to thank you all for your patience, because it's long overdue. We've talked about this for a very long time, and I'm just glad that it's here. As I have 15 months left on this council, I keep saying I'm going to push and push and push so that we are here, because it's the right thing to do. When you look at upward mobility and we talk about wanting to make sure that we reduce gang violence, we all know that a good paying job is going to stop a bullet. We all know that a good paying job is going to help people get good, a good standard of living. But more importantly, as we deal with the housing crisis here in Orange County, these are the kinds of jobs that we really need here in this community. We need to make sure that we reinvest with not only, with our labor family, but some of the young people that are in this community that need an opportunity like this. So I want to thank you all for really putting this this ordinance together, and a special thank you to our city attorney, because I know we probably got on her nerve a couple of times and telling her, we need you to move fast and make sure to have this conversation with Ernesto and their attorneys. And so thank you, Sonia, for your patience and getting us through this, and thank you to my colleagues for helping us move this forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody to the left? Councilman Benavides.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank my colleagues as well, because I trust that we will be passing this unanimously tonight. I want to thank the speakers and leaders who came and spoke before us today, and over the years, conversations we've had to be able to bring this forth. Ernesto and Adrian, John, Robert as well, and all of the local labor organizations, and all of you here, workers who are supporting our families, supporting our community, providing good projects out there. Here at the city, at the last couple meetings back when we passed our budget, one of the things that we zeroed in on, focused on, is economic development. For a number of years, as the council meetings close, I encourage folks, and my friend who was here previously on the council, Councilman Reyna, always encourage our community to shop local, and ultimately it's to support our local economy, support local jobs and our families. And tonight it's an opportunity for us as a city to provide leadership in that, taking that supporting local jobs a step further by creating this community workforce agreement to be able to make it so that more and more families, more and more workers here are put to work and are contributing to supporting their families and also contributing to the benefit of our community. So with that, I'll be supportive and want to thank you all for being a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? Juan or Jose? Juan Villegas, please.
Be brief. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The other day I went out to the Lion Street facility, and it was such an eye-opener. It was a great thing. This workforce agreement also is awesome, and it's the Lion Street facility also is it's a great place. I saw a lot of things. Great work by great people, and I'm proud to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Solorio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel really good about this item for various reasons. First, this agreement really is a bridge project between the prior council and this council. I know that at least the year before this new council here, there was work on this agreement, but with the new folks that came on, myself and Councilmember Villegas, and the re-election of Councilmember Sarmiento, we continued the work. And many of you have seen me in action before. You know I'm very task-oriented, so this agreement was, towards the top of my list, and I'm grateful that the mayor did create, upon my request, a ad hoc committee on project labor agreements and responsible contracting. And this item was at the top of that list. And on that committee with me also were council members Sarmiento and Martinez, and we had staff, and we did a lot of good work there. And again, kudos again to our city attorney, Sonia Rubio Carvajal, for all your great work, and the public works staff as well. Very grateful there. This is, as was mentioned before, the first citywide project labor agreement in Orange County. It is historic. Here in Orange County, though, we like to do things a little bit different. So really the model for this, yes, let's give a round of applause. We like to do different. So really a lot of this work here today is based off a lot of the work that also Trustee Hannah and I did at the Rancho College Board. We had not had a PLA in Orange County for many years on the public side until Rancho did it. And we said, if we're going to do a project labor agreement, we want to do something that's really going to benefit local workers. So we wanted a local hire agreement. We also wanted a helmets to hard hats component. We wanted to work with the apprentices going from, K-12 into the college system, and really all those are key parts of this. So looking backwards, I do feel really proud about all the construction work we've done in our town. But moving forward, I feel much better that we're going to have our local residents doing some of that work. Our local residents pay those taxes, they pay those bonds, and so it'll be nice seeing them do some work. It'll also be nice seeing them not have to commute hours and hours, so they'll have more time to spend with their families. Also, it's going to keep more money in the local economy, and the multiplier effect, as was mentioned also, is a great benefit. Finally, I do want to thank some other folks in the audience. I know Ron Miller, the Executive Secretary of the Building Trades LAOC Council, is here. We also have Gil Davila, the new president of the Orange County Labor Fed. Thank you. And of course, let's all give another round of applause to Ernesto Medrano for being the leader behind all this. Thank you. And all the rank and file.
Clerk, if you can stop and start the clock on me, because I'm going to go faster than that, but just to be consistent. This is one of those issues where in your brain you kind of have scenes in a movie, and there's like different scenes over the years. I mean, I remember sitting with Ron Miller and Ernie Medrano long time ago in a restaurant trying to figure this out. John Hanna, I can remember John Hanna at a wedding hitting me up on this and saying, what are we going to do? I remember, Jose, when he was on the board over at the Rancho, and they were wrestling with the issue there. And then, it finally all, I believe, got better. And a lot of folks worked on it. I think the committee, Councilor Sarmiento, Mayor Pro Tem Martinez, and Councilor Solorio, that gave us some additional impetus at the right time, and then everybody continuing to push. Certainly, Robert Ruiz, Adrian Esparza, the work that Ernie Medrano, even before you took your current position, you're already working on this. And it takes that. And Doug, you and Robert and many others, it's been a team effort. I think this is really done well. Hopefully it can be used by other cities. It's something that they'll want to emulate, because I think it is well thought out. It wasn't just thrown together and let's see what happens. I think there was a lot of work done, by people playing devil's advocate and trying to make sure, do we not have unintended consequences here? And I think that's very important. So with that, I would call for the question. I know we have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Ernesto, since we didn't let a bunch of people speak, do you want to take a minute as you all walk out, please? No? Just thank you? That's good. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you all. Thank you. Madam City Attorney, well, wait a minute. We have a couple presentations. Councilor Sarmiento, would you like to do yours? And then followed by Solorio and then Tinajero.
If I may say, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This also has some labor involved in it as well. And so if I could have the participants from the Orange County Labor Federation Civic Engagement and Leadership Institute, Invelda Odilio, Laura Castellanos, Beatriz Guzmán, Patricia Hernández. Aquí me acompañan, aquí arriba, aquí atrás. María López, Leticia Molina, Amalia Padilla, Ivette Bueno, María Giles, Miguel Guzmán, Genoveva Jacobo, Ricardo Magallanes, Leticia Orozco y Leticia Sánchez. Pues tenemos representantes, ¿o no?, de todos ellos aquí. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize these folks, and I know we are going to be talking, I believe, was it at Willard, or was it at Willard? And let me tell you who they are. I just introduced many of them, and many of them couldn't be here with us tonight. But this is a Civic Engagement and Leadership Institute that was sponsored by the Orange County Labor Federation. We just got through speaking about a very important project labor agreement that we did with our friends in the building trades and in labor. And not only do they do good work like that, employ folks, build things here in our city, have strong relationships with government, but they also invest in development for many of our residents. And this is an institute that I know has developed leadership throughout the city. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize them, because we didn't have a chance to recognize them when they went through their graduation over at Willard Intermediate. So, by the way, that's my old alma mater. So, the program consists of 8 modules: civic structure, recognizing community issues, identifying issues and developing solutions, communications and media, public speaking and writing, opportunities to serve, hands-on community organizing, and serving on boards and commissions. It takes an incredible amount of time, an incredible amount of dedication, and these are folks who are parents, these are folks who are working, they have a lot of different things in their lives, but they took the time to go through the program. So I wanted us to recognize them for wanting to be leaders in our community, because that's a big thing. So let's give them a big round of applause for going through the program and being leaders and doing great things in our city. through this institute, they're going to be given the skill set and the tools to form leadership ties throughout the city. And we're just starting to develop that human capital that's so important for us to have here. It's something that I think goes unnoticed. These types of efforts, go on daily in our city, and I wanted us to take a moment and pause and reflect and see some of the results of these efforts, and let you know that these are your neighbors that are going to be working hard, leading these efforts for us, and becoming the future leaders on behalf of their families, their neighborhoods, and the city. I'm going to deviate a little bit and speak in Spanish. Quería felicitarlos primeramente por estar aquí con nosotros y recibir este reconocimiento. Muchas gracias por por dedicar a su tiempo y dar de todo su esfuerzo para ser líderes en nuestra ciudad. Lo que necesitamos más es gente dedicada como ustedes, que cuidan no nomás sus familias y sus niños, sus vecindarios, pero que se preocupen de la ciudad y la salud de la ciudad. Entonces yo, de parte de todo el Consejo Municipal, les felicito y les doy un aplauso de todo corazón, de parte de todos los residentes que están aquí. ¿Sí? No sé si quieren decir unas palabras. Por favor, nos acompañan aquí el micrófono antes de que haga el reconocimiento de los certificados. Adelante. ¿Su nombre?
Laura Castellanos.
Laura Castellanos is going to have the floor, and she's going to address us for a few moments. Laura, adelante.
Buenas noches. Le doy gracias a todos ustedes y al proyecto que estamos realizando.
I want to say thank you to everybody, and I want to tell you a little bit about the project that we're working on.
En la limpieza alrededor de nuestra escuela Wheeler.
To clean the neighborhood around Wheeler Intermediate School.
Fue acaso sobre el programa de liderazgo cívico que tomamos.
It has been come to fruition through the Civic and Leadership Participation Program from the Orange County Labor Federation.
Gracias, Yuri Vega.
Thank you.
Gracias, Laura. Entonces aquí les voy a entregar nomás a ustedes, los que están aquí, y después les voy a entregar los demás para sus compañeros que no nos pudieron acompañar. Genoveva Jacobo, felicidades, gracias. Ricardo Magallanes, felicidades. Patricia Hernández. Laura Castellanos. Les felicitamos porque su obra recién está empezando, no se termina acá, más bien se comienza acá, y aquí tengo todos los reconocimientos para todos los otros graduados. Thank you very much for dedicating your time and your effort to loving our city. Thank you very much. Con permiso.
As you see, we have a lot of great workers and residents in our city, and all these great folks live in great neighborhoods. And I, kind of on a regular basis, have been recognizing some of the outstanding neighborhoods that we have in Santa Ana. And today we have another one. And in these neighborhoods, we also have outstanding leaders. So I want to invite up from the Young Square Neighborhood Association, Mary Lou Branch, Liz Mead, and Steve Mead, if you could come on up. This is another fantastic neighborhood we have in the northeast part of our city. This neighborhood was formed in 2009, and there's about 100 homes in this neighborhood, and we also have a fire station. We always like fire stations. And they formed with very specific goals. They were to improve safety within the neighborhood, to raise awareness and reduce the smash and grab of home and vehicles and break-ins there, as well as to promote neighborliness neighborliness through social events. And I'm happy to share that this association, which these leaders, they've accomplished that in 8 years. And those accomplishments are noteworthy, but they continue on because there are more things to work on. The neighborhood is comprised of a wide range of neighbors, whether they be families with young children, single, students and retirees. They're diverse in age and lifestyles. And it also includes a significant number of original owners that still live in the homes they purchased back from the late 1960s and early 1970s. This neighborhood, also in this world of social media, has an excellent presence on nextdoor.com, and they use it to keep informed on what's going on with the community, events, as well as keeping track of any unusual activity, and really just overall looking after one another. They also hold numerous fun events for the neighborhood, from a spring and fall cleanup to spaghetti dinner. Can never go wrong with spaghetti dinner. You know, when you have 2 young kids, you know they can never go wrong on spaghetti dinner night. Always a winner. They also do bingo night, ice cream social, and an excellent annual 4th of July block party. On behalf of our mayor and city council, let's give these neighborhood leaders a big round of applause. And I'd like to have the president say a few words, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, I would just like to say thank you very much. We appreciate being in the city and having the opportunity to have a neighborhood association.
Short but sweet. Thank you so much. So we have here a nice certificate for Mary Lou Branch. Yes. Liz Mead. Thank you and congratulations. And at your trusty side, Steve Mead. Let's take a photo. Thank you again.
Councilman Tinajero?
This is a very special presentation tonight. Can I please have the Bretzel family come on up? So as they're walking up, I just want to share with you, I believe, and if I'm mistaken, I'm sure Mr. Bretzel will correct me when he gets up here, but this is Xander, and Xander is a member, well, he's, I believe, our second All-American baseball player coming out of Santa Ana. Is that correct? And so in order to become an All-American, here's what happens. They have tryouts all over the United States, showcases all over the United States, and they select 15 players. The Far West is representing what Xander did. He was one of the top 15 players in the Far West, representing Southern California, the state of Nevada, and Arizona. And so they go out and play against all the other regions in the United States. And this year, excuse me, this year is even, it even has another little special twist to it. Well, not only did the Far West team win the national championship, okay, so they won the national championship. I believe you guys beat, was it Southeast? Southeast, which is Arkansas, Texas, right? And Louisiana and those folks. So they were in the finals. They played on ESPN2, so it was televised. It was a great game. Xander did very well. A little bit about Xander. I've known Xander since he was at my kneecaps. Okay, and he played with my son Vincent Tinajero, who also was a All-American back a few years back, about 3 years ago. But one thing about Xander was that I knew he was going to be good for a variety of different reasons. So you're probably wondering, wait a minute, he played with your son who's in high school and he's 12. Yeah. So he was out there playing when he was like 7. And I remember I used to look at the poor guy and I'd be like, look at this little guy. How's he going to hang with this pitching? No, he'd get up there, he'd swing, he'd make good contact, he had grit for him. But part of that is because his dad was also a great coach. And he has an extensive baseball background that he could tell you about. But he's also a great coach. So in my head, I always knew that this was a recipe for success in the baseball world. So we are extremely proud of him today, and that's why we want to recognize him today, because here's a young man from Santa Ana, California, who went out there and represented us with the Far West. But it got a little bit better. While he was out there, he was also selected to be on the top prospect team. So he was one of, I believe it was 15 as well, right? And there were 2 teams, the East and the West, that played against each other, and Xander was selected for that. So not only did he make the Far West team, but he also made the top 30, basically, in the United States. And so we want to recognize him tonight. And congratulations, Xander. I'm sorry? Oh yeah, well, he's going to talk. He's going to show that. So he's going to come up and say a few words and show you a little bit about a little bling. But can we come on up? Can we get a little close up of this? Come on up here, Xander. Come on up here, Xander. Can you see these on camera? You know, I got a big forehead, so it's kind of shining off my forehead. But I'm going to let you go ahead and talk. Say a few words about what your experience was and everything.
So the first one was really cool. We got stay in dorms with the Pirates, with the minor league guys. That was the Under Armour one, and that was a really cool experience. The Select 30 was also really cool. I think they were all really cool, but the Select 30, it was hard work getting there, and my parents, they kind of like, they helped me go all the way through all of that. They pushed me really hard.
And just to give you an idea of how good Xander is, the average 12-year-old throws a fastball between 50 and 60 miles an hour. Xander was clocked at 69. Wow. So he's almost 10 miles above average. That's like freshman high school speeds right there. And if any of the parents would like to come up and say a few words about your experience, that'd be great. Come on up.
My name's John Bretso. I'm Xander's dad. I was actually very fortunate. I was actually selected to manage a Far West All-American team. So not only was I able to share the experience by watching it, I was actually on the field. And it was just a great experience. I've actually been a manager in Santa Ana Pony, so I've actually supported the city for about 6 years now. And that's actually something that we really like to give back to the community. Everybody up here, the council, has actually really supported us. We actually have the president of Santa Ana Pony here. And everything that we've done here for youth baseball in Santa Ana is actually what's led to Xander having the opportunity to play out in Florida. So he said that we push him, he pushes us, and he's an extremely hard worker, and he's really done it all on himself. So, you know, we are very fortunate to see him play some incredible baseball, and we continue to see it grow, not only for Xander, but also all the other youth athletes here in Santa Ana, thanks to Sal and the rest of the city council members. Thank you.
So, Xander, if you could come back up. And again, it's the leadership of the council and the support that we've given. I think what you have done over at Alona Park with Pony, growing it to 500 kids from across the city, and not only that, creating these awesome teams like yours, your travel ball team that gives our students and our players this type of opportunity. So Xander, we want to recognize you and your outstanding achievement in baseball, dated this day of August 2017. It's signed by the mayor and the rest of the city council. Congratulations. We are very, very proud of you. Can't wait to see what you're going to do in the next few years. Great job.
Thank you.
Good work. Let's take a picture. Can we take a picture? You guys come on in. Okay. Microphone. All right.
Okay, great. At this time, before we move forward with our consent calendar, we do have some members of the public that wish to speak on certain items. So as the mayor comes, I'm going to call on the first three speakers. That's all we have. We have Barbara Lemire, followed by Tigla and Robert. So if we could have Barbara.
Thank you. Segment. Well, he calls me Bolívar.
Sorry about that. I was in the back. Barbara Lemire, 52-year resident. I'm back here about Centennial Park and the land conversion. Is it good to go? The land conversion, which is coming up. And I did, this is the people's land, as it says. It was given to us for park and recreation. We have other land in the back of the park we've offered the college. They did not want it. It was more acreage, but it's fresh land they'd have to develop. They didn't want it. That's for education. We would love to see our people use our land that's closer to Ettinger, by our lake, by the skate park. We really deserve it. And I hope that you really look at this land conversion thing. I hope this National Park Service doesn't accept it, but you could do something to help too. They've not been good partners. The college has not been really good partners. Their buildings are falling apart. Their sewer and water systems are hurting. They need to do something major, and that's why they're hurrying this up. So they've had their 30 years, 5 years, and they're working on their second 5 years. It's time for us to wake up and take it back and utilize it. They have another option, or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Ilya Seglin, followed by Robert.
Good evening, Mayor Pulido.
Wait a minute.
And respectful.
Did you say Pulido?
Yes. Respectful City Council meeting. My name is Ilya Tseglin. I am the voice of my innocent son Nate, kidnapped against his will, taken away from caring family, based on fabricated false report organized by conman CEO of Orange County Regional Center, that few miles from here, Larry Landauer. He was kidnapped by law enforcement, but we don't have law enforcement, and social services who do nothing for people. They just violated people's constitutional right and freedom. While equally corrupted judges from probate court, type of Hubbard, Lee, and numbers of others, unconstitutionally, unlawfully rubber stamp the ruling for one reason, for profiteering. We don't have court, we don't have public defender, they working for corruption, they working for money themselves. People don't have here nothing. My son have few miles from here another place, 3.5 years. He is put in so conditions that only concentration camp can be compared with his condition. He is murdering, he is killing, he is poisoning, he using for medical experiment.
Thank you, Mr. Tigla.
Thank you, Robert.
Hello, Honorable Santa Ana City Council. This is Robert Seglin, brother of Nate Seglin.
As I stated before, my brother Nate Seglin was kidnapped from his residence 3 times, once in San Diego in 2007 and twice in Irvine, and by the Irvine Police Department in the 22 Creek Road home. And despite 3 different judges, 3 different writs of habeas corpus releasing him, most recently in December 31st, 2013, he was placed in the 903 South Harmon Group home by the Regional Center of Orange County. And if you look at the documents, you'll see that the Regional Center either of San Diego or of Orange County was involved, or at least interested in the conservatorship, or at least confining him in various places such as Cerritos College Hospital, other places. And with regard to the profiteering, if you have any doubt, you can look at the guardian ad litem, who admitted that over $50,000 a month is being allocated to the so-called group home for so-called services. And so you have a group home where they are not, they don't seem to disclose their finances or what they're using the money for, put on drugs, psychotropic drugs, not allowed to have any doctors visit him, concealing the medical records to the extent that the Department of Developmental Services are concealing their legal address, so that it would, not to try to prevent subpoenaing of the medical records. And even the governor doesn't want to give the address. So it's pretty much of a mockery where they want to rush to a trial and have memorialized where the doctor testified that Zyprexa doesn't cause seizures. So he's going to testify against the FDA and the other medical disciplines and so forth. So what I'm saying is that when you have...
Thank you, Robert. If you could conclude, please.
Conclude. Well, I mean, this, at least if the PD could write reports that are accurate, it would help to release them. That's my suggestion. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Madam City Attorney, is there anything to report out of closed session?
Mayor, we do have several reportable items from our closed session discussion. On item number 1, which is listed as a case with the Orange County Catholic worker case, the City Council authorized proposed terms of a resolution by 6-0 vote with Polito absent. On the second item, with respect to the California Voting Rights Act letter, the council also authorized direction to legal counsel on a 6-0 vote with Polito absent. On number 3, the City Council authorized the filing of a lawsuit against the property owners of the California Lodge Motel to abate criminal activity at the location. That was authorized by a 6-0 vote with Polito absent. And finally, with respect to the real property negotiations, the City Council authorized the purchase of the real property in the amount of $990,000 on a vote of 4-1, with Martinez voting no, and Council Member Tinajero and Mayor Polito absent. And that's all the reportable action that I have.
All right. Thank you for that. Now what I'm going to do is turn our attention to the consent calendar. I believe Mayor Pro Tem has only one item to discuss. Let's let her discuss that, not say anything.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I don't even want to discuss it. I'm just a no on 25L. Thank you.
All right. Please note that for the record. Any other items? I'd entertain a motion on the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Do we have an oath of office, Madam?
We have 2.
Clerk?
Yes, we do. If I can have...
Come on down if you're here for your oath of office. And if you don't know who you are, then I'm not sure you should be on the committees, but come on down. How are you? Welcome.
Mr. Dennis Varnum has been appointed to the Workforce Development Board this evening.
All right. I, Dennis Varnum, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, that I will vow and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Thank you.
And now we have Gisela Contreras, who's been appointed to the Board of Parks and Recreation.
I, Gisela Contreras, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, that I will vow and faithfully discharge the duties which I'm about to enter. Thank you.
So with that, I believe now we go on to 55A. And Perla Dominicio, if you could please come up and speak if you're here. On item 55A, please.
Hello, good evening. I never like to write my speeches because I feel like the love and passion I have for Santana will be lost in the delivery. However, I didn't want to miss any of my points tonight. I agree with Chief Rojas when he told you that you cannot arrest your way out of the crime. With that, I beg you to invest in our youth, divert some of the 52% of your budget spent in the criminalization and incarceration of them, and build positive relationships with our youth. One way you can do that is by providing a safe space for them to expand their talents. In Santana, we have artists of all types, poets, artists, mural painters, singers, musicians, and many others, including community organizers. Our youth needs you. Today, Orange County youth held a rally to celebrate the 5th year of DACA and to support each other as the end of this federal program could sever the dreams of a higher education and the American dream for them and 750,000 youth across the country. At this event, Arthur C. Chapper was present with other members of the Make America Great, 3 Percenters, and the All Right Movement members. With bullhorns, hate-filled signs, hate chants, and loudspeakers to drown out the inspiring speeches that the youth were delivering. So I ask again, who is responsible for hiring Arthur Chapper to engage our youth and families and children at Centennial Park on the 4th of July? Over a dozen police officers were deployed to safely escort this Nazi off of our city. Only after 4 hours of us protesting his presence. So he was not escorted out because he wasn't welcome, but because his shift was over. Are we, as a city and the Santa Ana Police Department, ready for a Charlottesville-like event to take place here? Well, the Santa Ana Police Department might, because they will just join and protect them like they did at Delhi Center and at Centennial Park. So, ask if the reason, so I'm here to ask you if the reason why you don't invest in our Santana youth, you have been sitting there for 31 years, I can do 1 more minute up here.
The light is red.
And our Santana youth, is it because you agree with Mr. Chopper when he told our youth today that we're not worthy of the American dream? So I asked for Santana.
So let me bring the item before us.
Our city council for those from those two banditos.
55A, thank you. 55A.
Mayor, I move this item with just comment.
And then Councilor.
I'll second with comment as well.
Please.
Great. Just wanting to thank our Parks and Rec director and his staff and the library staff for moving us forward with this pitch idea grant and in regards to the technology and the great work that they're doing. I just wanted to thank them for moving us forward and moving our library and really assisting our youth and moving into the digital revolution. They've been doing a great job.
And our park director is there in the back. Thank you. Councilor Sarmiento, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ditto, I want to,
anytime we can support the libraries here, it's a great thing, and I know our director knows that it's a big priority of mine. But to the sort of out of the scope comment that was made, I am a little troubled because I know at the last meeting we heard the same thing about somebody being either retained or employed that came and disrupted, kids that were speaking at Centennial and at Delhi when Congressman Correa was addressing and having his town hall. So, Mr. Cortez, if you could find out, I've heard Mr. Shopper speak. He's a very, very hostile, hate-filled person that has nothing good to say about communities like ours. And I am interested to see if he was compensated, if he was employed, even for a short period of time. But those types of influences on our families and on our youth are completely unacceptable. So, to the extent we can find out and you can report back to the council.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. 55B, we already dealt with. 55C, I would entertain a motion.
Move the item.
Approve. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Mr. Mayor,
please go ahead. If you have a comment, go ahead.
Comment. I just wanted to thank our staff, and I know our interim city manager isn't here, and I know she helped work on this. And actually, we had our representatives from the state, but our representatives from the federal advocacy, Holland and Knight, I know helped work on this as well. This is to employ some of the folks at the jail, re-employ them. They were let go. And this is to backfill the loss that we had with, obviously, the contract with ICE. This is with the U.S. Marshals. This is a good thing because it helps offset some of the losses that we had as a result of that contract. Now, we understand that this has nothing to do with the previous tenant, but what it does is it'll help at least for 2 years to have somebody have a tenant there in place that can give us some time to assess what we plan to do with the jail. So I think it's a relief. It gives us some thoughtful time for us to contemplate what our options are. But I think this was very important. I know I went back, and I believe Councilman Benavidez joined me when we went to go meet with the marshals to see about how we could maybe expand their contract to make sure that they remain and they offset some of the losses that we knew were going to be coming. So this is a very good thing for the city because it makes our hole a lot smaller. So. With that,
and thank you and thank this entire council for the good work on this, because it is about a $10 million in 10-month period additional revenue coming into the city.
It is. It's a big deal, and I think all of us just need to reflect. I know that this doesn't speak to the issue of what ultimately the jail should be, but what it does is it gives us additional time, because any time that you're compressing decision-making in a short period of time, good decisions aren't made. I think over time we can assess and we can see, what the next step is for the jail. So I think this helps.
And it also places that much closer to potentially 100% occupancy, which would make the numbers even stronger. But Councilmember Solorio?
Yes, this agreement is a major benefit to the jail and the city's finances. Really, this amount, even for 10 months at being over $10 million, essentially is dollar for dollar what we lost through the ICE contract. And so this, plugs the hole that some try to portray as a structural deficit for this past fiscal year. I didn't see that the last fiscal year we had a structural deficit. We just had a surprise end of the year loss of a major contract with this federal agency. So this effectively plugs that hole back in, at least for 2 years, and I think allows us a good vision forward in terms of what we do next with our jail, because it is an asset, and there are a lot of things we can do, and this moves us forward in a very positive direction financially. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other additional comment? If not, those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed?
No.
Can you note the no vote, Madam Clerk? So with that, let's go on to the next item, 65A. And Councilor Benavidez, I believe you had
comment on this, but maybe we have speakers first. Jose Rea, please. Come on down, Jose. Followed by Corey Witter. Followed by Evelyn Torres. Please go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, I'm just here representing Madison Park Neighborhood Association. We have a group of people from Madison Park. And we would like to request your support to approve the cameras at Madison Park. We have really a bad situation there. Yesterday, there was the first day of classes for the students. And somebody had come in over the weekend, there's a link fence that separates Madison Park from Madison Elementary. They cut about a 5 feet fence to get through it. And it was really sad to see that when the kids were coming in, they see the vandalism on the garden at Madison Elementary. They cut the hose. This is in addition to what the kids witnessed during the summer, the prostitution, the drugs, at 9:30 in the morning in the bathroom, the ladies' bathroom. And we just want, we've been discussing with you, Mr. Sarmiento, for years, this situation. And I think the sooner you can do it, the better. Because I think it's really deplorable that our kids, they're not my kids, but the kids in the neighborhood, that they had to see this every day. And it's just really sad.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Jose. Corey Witter, and then Evelyn Torres, and then Robin Zavala, I believe.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. My name is Corey Witter, and I'm a resident in the city of Santa Ana and also a volunteer at one of our local youth organizations. I first wanted to commend the council and city on its efforts to improve the park, specifically regarding safety in our fine community. I want to just briefly lend my support to the continued community input efforts that the Parks Department has done a fantastic job undertaking so far. And I do want to commend them on reaching out. I would also like to urge them to continue to reach out to the youth, as other speakers have mentioned tonight. The youth really are our future, and investing in them now is going to pay dividends for the city later on. And I would just like to say that Santa Ana is becoming a more sustainable city, and sustainable cities plan for the future. So let's be one of the leaders in Orange County and continue on the path that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Evelyn, followed by Robin, and after that, Norelos, Marcos Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Evelyn Torres. I am from the Youth Empowerment Network. I am here today to tell you we need more safe skate spaces for youth to live a healthy, active life in safe and secure spaces. I, along with many of my friends, live in an apartment complex that oftentimes do not have enough available open spaces to play and be active. We find ourselves limited to staying indoors and playing video games, or risking our safety and playing on the street. Many of my friends resort to biking and skating as a mode of transportation and recreation, but do not feel safe doing so due to the lack of available safe spaces. This discourages them from continuing these activities that make them happy and healthy. The youth of Santa Ana need more safe and secure spaces to be able to be physically active, socially connected, and mentally healthy. Without appropriately safe and secure skate spaces, we are at greater risk of obesity, diabetes, and other chronic illnesses, as well as falling into the usage of drugs, alcohol, and gang activity. As a preventive measure, my fellow peers and I ask that you invest in the youth and in our futures by investing in more public land for recreational purposes and more active life, such as skate parks, community centers, community gardens, and safe infrastructures for walking, biking, and skating. Currently, our city faces the issue of lack open spaces, and there are no more rooms for Santa Ana to spread out. We want to work with the city and public agencies to use already existing public park spaces in a more creative and effective manner, so that together we can create a healthier and more active community. This is why I ask of you today to provide more safe skate spaces for our community residents to live a more active and healthy life. Thank you.
Robin,
followed by Marcos. Marcos Rodriguez left. Barbara Lemire, followed by Edwin Ruiz. And then Irma Mateo.
Barbara Lemire again, 52-year resident. That was a hard act to follow. That's what I'm all about. That's what I'm about. Centennial. 37 years later, that's what we need. We need to keep our open space. It is there and it's ours. But I go along with everything here. Security, lighting, unbelievable. Centennial needs it desperately. It's a big area. And there's a lot of dark areas. The walkway, it's hard for some of us to get around on it, especially without the lighting. And my own park, Windsor, needs it too. But I'm for all of this. The more we do, and the safer it is for these kids. She just said it all. We need it. And we're building all that housing. It's all multi-level. Some of those on Harbor Boulevard, you practically step out onto the sidewalk on Harbor. Where are kids supposed to be? We're going to have kids. So let's keep working on this. This is fabulous, and she said it all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Edwin, after Edwin, Irma, after Irma, Maribel.
Good afternoon. My name is Edwin, and I want to thank the city for the new parks and the renovations, such as like Centennial. And what I wanted to mention is like the need for like skating elements for like skaters to like be safe, because like I've seen like by Garfield, there's like a lot of skaters skating on property. There's like skating right here, and I would just like for them to have like a skating space in the new parks that are coming in, because I've attended several community input meetings, and I've seen that there's actually adults that mention that they want skating elements for their children. Yet like after meeting, when we come back, we don't hear back from the city if they're actually gonna mention it. And oh yeah, and I also wanna like this would also help the community by having like skaters like being able to skate in a safe space and not be endangered by like the cars on the street. So thank you.
Thank you. Irma, followed by Maribel.
Good evening. My name is Irma Mateo. I am a resident of Santa Ana. I am here to tell you that I am grateful for creating more open green spaces and new security and safety improvements, but we are advocating to have skate spaces in the new upcoming. Having skate elements would prevent youth and adults from skating in dangerous or private properties. As I have seen in the past 3 years, my fellow peers are skating in a parking lot of schools and outside of businesses, on the curbs of the sidewalks, and even we can see them outside of City Hall. This causes a lot of danger to my peers and makes it a concern to both their parents and property owners, as well as the possible liability to the city. Now that I am myself am starting to learn how to skate, I am not able to skate in my apartment complex, so I have no safe space to skate and have to go all the way to Centennial to do so. I am not the only person that doesn't have a place to skate, so that's why we need to provide safe skate plazas and skatable elements in the new parks and truly consider the input of the community in order to create sustainable communities for future generations. Santa Ana needs to do a better job of planning for the future of our communities and our young people. We need Santa Ana to be sustainable communities. Sustainable communities plan and build for their future, for the homes, active transportation, and infrastructure that today's people need to access tomorrow's opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Maribel.
Hello, my name is Maribel, and I am a resident of Santa Ana. My sister was the one that just talked right now. I am here today to talk about the park improvements that the city is currently doing. To begin with, I'm very thankful for all the improvements that are being made already. There has been a couple of community input meetings that I have attended to, and I haven't seen any of our concerns taken into consideration towards the park improvements. The youth of Santa Ana would be happy to see some skate elements being implemented in our city parks. With only one skate park in our community, youth and kids find themselves skating in public buildings and spaces such as businesses and schools, which is something that I'm sure that nobody wants. Remember that we are making improvements for the next generation, so thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let me bring it back to council for a consideration and thought. Councilor Benavides, please.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. So what we're looking at tonight, it's funds that are coming in from the sale of a property on South Bristol. The city's receiving $2 million sometime back. The city council with staff worked on making some recommendations on priorities for the funds that we anticipated coming in from the sale of that property. Some of what we saw there and included and made recommendations on and prioritized was capital improvement projects that would benefit our community. One of those elements being skate park or skate plaza, skate elements. What we've heard over the last couple of years, I've been becoming more aware and informed as some of our youth have been both coming to speak before council committee, and also scheduling individual meetings to be able to advocate for these positive recreational activities that would be able to allow them to do something, have these elements within our parks, to be able to have them be doing something positive, safe. And what we're looking at here tonight is a number of recommendations from staff where some of these capital improvement projects, particularly as it relates to skate parks, have been removed. Others have been included, primarily around the area of security. And when it comes to public safety, I think there's no better way to ensure public safety in our community than having our young people engage in positive activities. So one question that I do have from staff is some of the larger items here, both security lighting and security cameras. Specifically as it relates to security cameras, how are those going to be monitored? How are they going to, is it something that ultimately, are they going to, do we anticipate that our parks will be safer as a result of the cameras? If so, how is that the case?
Commander Kaminsky is here to help answer how they're going to be monitored. Also, with regards to the engagement of the community, it's been over 5 years. Jeannie can speak to the history of the residents and neighborhoods surrounding the 7 parks that we're recommending that will receive security cameras. Over 5 years that we've been talking about this, and throughout that time we've been doing research. Jeannie has gotten staff to talk about the benefits of security cameras in park system, and there's also an article that she can answer questions with regards to the fact sheets or questions regarding to the history of the communications with the neighborhoods on the need for these cameras. But one of the things that was discussed at the last Youth Education and Community Services Council Committee, I think one of the members asked whether we're going to have quality cameras, and then I'm going to turn it over to Commander Kaminsky, because many years ago, I think over 5 years ago, through the Homeland Security, the city received lots of money to install surveillance cameras in the Civic Center area, and it was the best. The quality in the image is outstanding. Because of the success of that program, Parks and Rec was able to assemble some monies to add the same camera system to the library inside and the library outside for those cameras. And a combination of those cameras for the last few years and the security guard systems that we provided has reduced the number of incidents in the library, where a lot of patrons are giving us a lot of feedback. They're coming back to the library and using it. So we've actually seen it. The same camera system that is very high quality, and Commander will speak to the monitoring of it, we installed at Garfield Community Center. And I believe that's the system, because through the Park Ranger program and the police officers to keep the park safety, this is going to be another tool. As the handout that Jeannie provided speaks to, now I'm going to turn it over to Commander Kaminsky to answer specifically the question on how they're monitored.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As far as the video cameras being monitored, they will be monitored much like the video cameras in the Civic Center, as well as the video cameras in the downtown. We have injured officers that all have monitored the cameras on occasion, then direct resources to locations where there are problems. Or we utilize the cameras for special operations, or we utilize the cameras to monitor activity to determine when that activity is occurring, and then I'll assign specific resources to go and address it. We utilize the camera systems throughout the city for various reasons during various different times, but yes, we use them and monitor them quite a bit.
So one can expect at a park that they're being that there's somebody that will be monitoring, securing those cameras throughout the day, or is it primarily as incidents called in?
What you're asking is will I be monitoring all the cameras 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? No.
So when is it primarily as something is called in that then an officer is able to zero in on what activity is being reported? I just wanted to get
I can give you a real live example that actually PD did very well with bike thefts. So we were having bike thefts, and from the actual bike rack, we aimed the cameras there, and they arrested some people because the cameras, we knew that it was happening frequently, and we're not getting those bike thefts anymore because people realize that the cameras, so it's kind of knowing, it's a two-way thing. The park staff informs police that we have a problem, say, at a particular restroom, and we make sure that that is focused in. I'm anticipating that's what it's going to be. It's a pointing out the hot spots, because it is expensive to do round-the-clock monitoring in 7 different parks and various cameras, but pointing out the hot spots that we have. Sometimes we have particular problems in some parks with congregation of people drinking, and they can tend to drink in the same spots, that kind of a thing. That's how I think would be problem-oriented security camera monitoring.
Well, thank you for the information and for providing some of the background. At the Youth and Community Education Committee, we did have some of these questions. That's some of the information that we requested, how we've seen them both locally and in other cities impact and improve security. Some of the questions that did come up by some of the members of the committee, Councilman Solorio, Villegas, and myself, were questions more related around the questions that some of the youth speakers came and presented as to the skate park elements, particularly as it relates to, again, some of the funds that were at one point prioritized within these funds that are no longer there. So this is, we've heard both from speakers tonight, members of the community who have advocated and are saying we need these security cameras. Both personnel from Parks and PD indicate that they would be helpful. We've also heard from speakers from the community indicate both at the community, at the council committee, and tonight, just the desire to be able to see, not see the funds for skate park elements, eliminated. So something that I would encourage our council tonight to look at is, I think tonight we have an opportunity to be able to address both. The item that we took up just right before, we have funds that are coming in, new funds that we had not previously anticipated from this U.S. Marshals contract to the tune of $10 million. An opportunity for us to be able to set some funds aside so that we are able to, perhaps at that same level that we're doing security cameras, provide for some of those skate elements that our community is requesting as well.
Let me suggest something, if I may. I want Councilor Sarmiento to make a comment, but as a group, if we can continue this, I think there's a lot of good input. I don't know if this causes problems. If it doesn't, 2 weeks might be good. I know that Mayor Pro Tem has to leave very shortly, and she has a lot of good input she wants to give. So why don't you make your comment, and then let's see if we can do something. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to be short, so Mayor Pro Tem Martinez has an opportunity to speak because she may not be at the next meeting, right? So we want to make sure to hear her comments. Director Moyet, if you can stay up at the podium, because some of these comments are going to hopefully be augmented by your background on some of this. So I'm completely sensitive to what Councilmember Benavides is talking about. He's been one of the longest advocates for skate parks, and I know the mayor and he and others and Mayor Pro Tem were looking at doing a skate park in the downtown at one time. I think there was some real opportunity to maybe do something there. And you're right. I think any activity for the youth, as was mentioned, is a public safety effort, right? The more we can keep our youth engaged in things that are constructive and positive, those are, it has a stronger effect than deviating and doing other things that are not positive. So I completely agree with that. I think we do need a little bit more time to look at this, and I appreciate the staff, and I appreciate especially the Youth Education and Community Committee that went through this and looked at this as well, because it really is them who are going to be affected by this. It's the youth. I mean, all these things are for improving the conditions in parks. I just wanted to make some, clarification, because I know we had some speakers come up here from Madison. Can you go through and recite for us, Mr. Moet, what improvements have been made at Madison recently? Because it sounds like it's been a space that was ignored.
I may be missing some, but we recently added several new playgrounds throughout different parks, and Madison ended up getting one of the units. And then council, that was approved by council a while ago, and we added a lot of playgrounds to different parks, Madison being one of them. And then benefit to the Madison Park Neighborhood Association, as well as many other neighborhood associations. City Council approved a little over $800,000 of CDBG money in this current fiscal year for security lights on the Pacific Electric bike trail that crosses Madison and a lot of other neighborhoods. That's a huge positive direction, because in particular in certain segments of that bike trail where there isn't a street lights that are going through, it's dark, and the lights are going to really increase the safety for recreational purposes for those trails that are beautiful.
So it's safe to say that monies have been invested in Madison Park to make sure that there's an improvement in the condition there, right?
Yes.
And I remember there were community gardens that were placed there, basketball courts that were improved.
That's right.
So this has probably been one of the most focused on parks, because there's some parks that haven't received half of that. And, we have to realize that this is a city effort. I mean, we have the problems that were recited at that park are unfortunately not unique to them. I mean, those things happen at most of our parks throughout the city, unfortunately. So I just want to make sure that as we go through this, I think the cameras were delayed at that park, if I'm not mistaken from my conversations with you and with Mr. Cortez. I think there was an estimate to do these cameras, but they didn't incorporate the infrastructure funding to relay those images back to PD, and that's what caused the delay. So it wasn't anything that was capricious or arbitrary that somebody said, we're just going to withhold these cameras back from some parks. It was because there was actually some additional funding that needed so the cameras can be more effective. And as we're talking about cameras, the cameras not only are they seen don't have to be seen 24/7, but they also serve as a deterrent. If you look at any place that has cameras, it's a deterrent effect on any crime being
Councilman
committed.
Sarmiento, he could conclude.
And so, I just want to thank you for that. I'm supportive of a continuance, and I'm ready to move that.
The mayor's
all right, thank you, Councilor Solorio.
Thank you. I agree with all that Councilmember Sarmiento mentioned. I also want to add that I feel this list is a good list, and there's been a lot of promises made, and we've had issues with not keeping our promises in the past, and we should. But I think this is also a conversation about we need to do things in addition to security cameras, and that's in making improvements for other sports. And I'm supportive of skate proposals, but I don't want them to occur in a vacuum and not thinking about other sports needs, right? I mean, so today we did have some excellent, young speakers speak about skate parks, and, they're organized, right? right? But that's not to say that our baseball, boys and girls don't have needs. And I know they've come before; they've had meetings with us. We have, baseball. We have still, many soccer needs, tennis needs. We have a process for capital improvement projects, and so we also need as we grow the amount of money that we put towards sports, and I want to add more towards sports, we got to do it in a way that's consistent and fair with the process so that it's not at the exclusion of other sports or families. And then we also have deferred maintenance needs that, it's nice to have a new shiny thing, but if we let everything else get bad or unsafe, that's not good. Finally, I know at our council committee, we also talked about in the downtown, there are some business owners that want to help invest in, a mobile or a temporary skate park, if you will, an alley. That would be a cool concept. Same thing here for the Civic Center. We have to explore those as well. Also, I know in the Delhi Center, there's been a longstanding interest in doing something there because they have all that space. So I'm for skate parks, but let's do this in a context and through a capital improvement program that should be historically highlighting our needs and priorities. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, and I'll be very brief, and I'm going to ask for a 30-day continuance. I won't be here at the next meeting. It's scheduled vacation, but I just also want to just state on the cameras and the current camera systems that we have on now. Do we have any data as it pertains to us being able to use that as a tool that has deterred crime? I would like to see, any data information brought back to this council. Will these cameras as well have any sensors, alarm systems or communication systems that you actually can communicate back with in a security system? And I asked that question. So here I am. I have Arlo. If you're not familiar, and so I have cameras at my home, and so at any given time I can go on to my phone here. I can see the outside of my house, and someone like the UPS guys there dropping off a package. I can press the button and talk to him like, hey, drop off the package, in my back door or stuff like that.
Somebody's there right now, Michelle.
And so no one's there now, but you can go live, and so
you can talk
and actually can communicate with the folks that are in front of my door outside. I can press for an alarm for the police to come. And so it's a very sophisticated system, and it certainly doesn't cost what we're paying for. This was a $600 system for a home, and so I would just ask, what other technology tools with the security camera system are we actually getting, and how are we going to utilize that? Commander Kaminsky, you mentioned that we are monitoring, but how many hours a day are we monitoring, and what have been the results? And so I would just like to get some feedback based on the current camera systems that we have now, because again, it's a great tool, but if the tool is not working, certainly we don't want to invest that kind of money that if we're not really utilizing the cameras to help deter crime. And so, I appreciate Councilman Benavidez bringing the issue up, and then as well with the lighting, Mr. Moet, I would just make sure that the lighting system will be a system where we actually have the ability to turn it off from a control system through our smartphones as well. And I see Fred shaking his head. Hopefully that is the case, that's the kind of lighting system that we are implementing, so that we can
hopefully their LEDs and the red LED is on.
Fantastic. So I'll make a motion to continue for 30 days, Mr. Mayor.
All right, there's a second comment by Councilor Villegas, please.
Real quick, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank everyone who came out in support of the cameras. And one thing I do want to mention is that we do need the lighting and the cameras. It does no good to have cameras and then there's no lights. And these are high-quality cameras. They zoom into license plates. But having all this also does not substitute for common sense, for personal safety. So we have to remember that. And I'm also in favor of having a skate park in the future. But I think we should get this moving first. And I've been talking with staff, and we have some things coming up that maybe we can work something out. But thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So with that, we have a motion and a second. I think I was a second for a 30-day continuance. I suggest council members talk to the Parks and Recs Department, city manager. Let's do whatever we can to improve this request. So with that, those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Have a safe trip, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you for your service.
Now we go on to item 75, I believe it's 65B. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there a presentation?
We have a brief presentation. Make it brief, otherwise we could change our mind.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. For the benefit of our audience, I'm Alma Flores, the city's communications manager and the project manager for our community branding project, which is identified in Goal 3 of the city's 5-year strategic goal. It's my pleasure to introduce Ed Barlow with North Star Strategies, who is a recognized leader in the area of community branding, having worked with over 200 communities across the country. Mr. Barlow is here today to present their research findings, and it is important to note that their research included the input of over 200 community stakeholders and members of the public. With your approval of the platform statement that's going to be presented today, we will be able to move forward with the creative phase of the project with the hope to conclude the community branding by February of 2018. Thank you.
Thanks, Alma. Mayor, Council, appreciate the opportunity to share this information with you. Let's see if here we go. When you say short, how short would you like this?
Very.
Very. Okay, we'll fly through it then. All right. As Alma mentioned, we engaged lots of folks. That the number is actually a bit higher than that 200. We'll get to that very quickly. So I'll move very fast through our process here. We at North Star, a community branding firm, are based in research. So we spent several months doing research on behalf of Santa Ana from within. We took a perspective from the outside looking in. Our goal here, and this is where we are in the process, is to get to a strategic positioning for the community, what is distinct and ownable. When people hear branding, they often think of logos and lines. Those are important tools, but this is far more than that. So the balance of the project that Alma mentioned is the creative and action. So we will develop those creative tools with a small committee here in Santa Ana, and then demonstrate how this strategy comes to life with those tools throughout the community, whether it's policy, parks and rec, schools, the local business community, economic development. We get asked what success can look like, so I won't go through too much of this. It's somewhat of an intangible, but other communities have measured their success in different ways, whether it's an increase in property tax revenue by more people moving in, or sales tax revenue by attracting more visitors. I'll skip through a case study for you and get to the research. As I mentioned, a full complement of research done over several months, qualitative, quantitative, from within the community, from the outside looking in, and we'll skip those demographics and get to some results quickly. If you'll pay close attention to this grid, our site visit last year had focus groups and one-on-one interviews. We engaged over 150 folks while we were here in Santa Ana. The middle column will be respondents from a qualitative survey of community and business leaders. And then we had a resident survey done in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, and had over 600 respondents to this online and printed survey to those who live and or work in Santa Ana. And so the best descriptors, you may agree with what you see here today. You may not. It is the information that was gathered. This is all perception research, so asking questions that guide us to the best descriptors for the community. You can see from our site visit, Santa Ana is young, welcoming, energetic, vibrant, walkable, urban, progressive, artistic, Latino. Great set of adjectives there. Our community and business leaders pointing to Latino, artistic, homelessness, centrally located, crime, also young. And then the residents, this is in order of frequency of mention. So Latino, homelessness, up and coming and improving, unlike the rest of Orange County. We are after what the competitive advantage and what is distinct and ownable about the community, and so we ask several questions that lead us to those advantages and assets. And so you can see on the screen how these were mentioned, from the historic architecture, the arts and culture, the location, the multiculturalism, specifically the Latino culture, downtown, and the food scene. We're not going to build a brand around anything negative, but as part of the research, we are made aware of some challenges or issues that people point to in the community. So we can't build a brand in a vacuum, but most commenting about the homelessness, issues with crime, blighted areas, stressed infrastructure. Specific to that middle column of 95 leaders, we asked them about how, if you considered Santa Ana business friendly. And so the yes is at 24%, no is at almost 40%. So asking questions, what is missing in Santa Ana? This can identify what the priorities are or what people wish were here. And so from our site visit, you see more parks and green space. We need more community pride and confidence. Specifically cranes for commercial development. The middle column there with the stakeholders saying we need leadership and a vision and plan. We need an identity to the community, additional arts. The residents pointing to a solution to the homelessness issue, both by the city and the county, focusing beyond downtown, more parks and green space, affordable housing. Opportunities for the community, marketing and PR, being more business friendly, improved appearance, commercial development, improving schools, downtown development, marketing and PR, young professionals, and creative class. We wanted to know what is most important to the identity of the community. What is, without blank, Santa Ana loses its essence. And so you can see in order of frequency here, there's overlap, slightly different order. If there's an asterisk, as in the site visit or the end market, the most mentioned was history by a good margin, the residents pointing to the Latino culture and history, but you see artists, the county seat, the only downtown in Orange County. So taking a look from the outside in, one of our pieces of research was a quantitative survey done outside the area in Orange County, but excluding Santa Ana, and then in southern LA County. And so I apologize for the size of this on that screen, but we asked several questions. People don't know this is about Santa Ana as yet. The first thing that comes to mind about these different communities, they said for Santa Ana, it's the courthouse or government, nothing, crime, Latino, and Santa Ana wins. And you can see what's mentioned for the others. We asked several different questions before they are aware this is about Santa Ana. One of those was, which community do you associate with art and artists? And so we wanted to point this out, seeing art come up regularly through those internal conversations and surveys. No one in Orange County really owning that. I have a quote in just a bit that will point to an outside perspective about that. They start knowing this is about Santa Ana at this point, so the people outside the area, the best adjective or phrase for Santa Ana, Latino culture, dangerous, diverse, multicultural, lower income, and historic. And so we ask from within what outsiders would say, and then we just shared what they did say. And so this is not unique to Santa Ana, where some of the responses from within the community, we think that, or residents and stakeholders think that outsiders will think of them more negatively. While there may be negatives in the column there on the right, what outsiders did say, you can see that Latino culture, the most mentioned, as we saw on that graph, historic, they're very likely to say up and coming and improving as well, with a great downtown. We were curious visitors. 90% of the respondents had visited, and they're coming here visiting friends and family. They're shopping. They're going to downtown. Asking them what is missing: a positive reputation, a solution to homelessness, and an attractive appearance. Asking the same question about what's most important to the identity: Latino culture, the history, Santa Ana Zoo, multiculturalism. An additional outside survey, qualitative conversations done with economic development professionals, tourism professionals, and surrounding cities in Orange County. They point to great assets, vibrant downtown and 4th Street, the seat of government for Orange County, the Latino culture, multiculturalism, the authentic historic architecture. Challenges, they too point to homelessness. They see missing as awareness of the community, new ideas, development, support for economic development, more amenities for those that are here. And they see arts as a great opportunity, specifically also a food scene, a walkable downtown. They regularly mentioned the streetcar and light rail. So at the neck of that hourglass, what is distinct and ownable for the community? The goal of this is to help us articulate and demonstrate why Santa Ana is a preferred location, and so positioning is going to help us market. So I'm going to use some quotes from the research that point to some great assets and advantages and distinctions for the community. We heard lots of comments about the welcoming nature. This person, a resident, says, "I can be me here, the only place in Orange County I can." Again, about the history and that Orange County started here, celebrated through these research conversations. Having that authentic downtown, being the only real urban downtown in Orange County. And this from the outside looking in, pointing to the arts movement going on here. Santa Ana making art approachable. And so from that outside survey, from those respondents, seeing that no one in the county really owning that at this point. So being at the vanguard of communities, even nationwide, the future looking just like Santa Ana. This from the outside looking in. We can be, with smart growth, they can be the benchmark that everybody looks to. We reflect the dimension of hope and creativity we need to thrive. And then having vision. We just need to do some simple things. People will embrace Santa Ana. So that coming from inside the community. And then celebrating the multicultural aspects of the community. And this is from the outside looking in, an important quote or dynamic quote here. Everything is heightened here. Music, poetry, pride, flavors, caring neighbors, and even conflict. But there's an energy and creativity you can't find anywhere else. So quite a statement. And so I'll share this brand platform with you. It is not an outward-facing statement. It's meant to be an internal guiding principle for creative and action development and implementation. So this is not a turn of phrase. It is in 4 parts. There's a target audience to whom you're most appealing. Frame of reference is a geographic identifier to those that may not be familiar. That point of difference, what is distinct and ownable, and then a benefit is why that matters to those to whom you're most appealing. So for those seeking the energy of an urban and artistic setting, Santa Ana, Orange County's downtown and county seat, welcomes the celebration and understanding for all and elevates cultures and everyday narratives into a colorful, vivid, sensory experience. So just a bit of rationale. I won't read all this to you. We'll click through this quickly and we can talk about the platform statement if you like, or anything connected with the research. I have some case studies I can share if you would like to see how strategies can be treated creatively. So we're very excited about how this can be treated creatively with the creative committee that will be formed here in Santa Ana.
Do you have questions?
So, well, just my only comments for thank you for the presentation. You're here from out of state, I believe, based out of Atlanta, if I recall correctly. North Star is a leader. I've seen some of the work that you've done in other communities for quite some time. I know we've talked about a branding opportunity here in the city of Santa Ana. We are unique when it comes to Orange County, and It's time for us to be able to tell our story and not necessarily have others tell it for us, and so that's what this will allow us to be able to do. Very much looking forward to the next steps, and that's my question here to you tonight is what are the next steps? Where do we go from here? Because I know you're, I think, about midpoint, and I had an opportunity along with Councilman Solorio to hear from Mr. Barlow this presentation via a phone conference.
Sure, I've got I don't know if we want to go back to the slide, but I have a next step slide. But with approval of the brand platform, we would move into the creative phase. We, after having done this almost 250 times, we like to work with a small creative committee here in Santa Ana to evaluate creative concepts. That's both language and visuals, so strapline or tagline development, and then logo development and visual directions. And then we will use those decisions as we move into the bottom half of that process and demonstrate how it can come to life in all those different areas. We will take those decisions and then demonstrate how the brand can be put to work with those tools. The action plan is not a how-to and where and how to place a logo. It goes much deeper than that. There are lots of strategies and tactics on how to bring it to life in those different areas that I talked about. So there'll be a 2 to 3 year implementation plan that will follow those creative decisions.
Thank you. Well, I think it's
a receive and file. And do you want to?
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I'm excited, looking forward to us taking the next steps and putting that creative committee together and seeing again what you've done in other cities. I think there's much to be able to get done here in Santa Ana, tell our story, and I'm excited for the next step. So I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. And now let's go on to the next item. This is a public hearing, 75A, time and place for approval an exchange of real property on South Standard and also South Bristol. Madam Clerk, do we have any written communications?
I have not received any.
I'm going to open up the public hearing on this item, 75A. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council for recommendation.
Second with
comment. Motion is second. Those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed?
Comment.
There's a comment. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see our Director of Parks and Recs here, and I wanted to thank him because there's some interesting history on this land swap that we're working out today. It's hopefully going to add one more park to our park system, but we've had the benefit of using the site at Standard and McFadden. I believe it's the northeast corner of that intersection for about maybe 5 or 6 years now, Mr. Moyd, if I'm not mistaken. But it started out as an interesting concept. I remember the first couple of years I was on the council, I know that I represent that area. Some of the parents approached me at the Cornerstone Mini Neighborhood Association and said that their kids didn't have a place to play. And I think Councilmember Villegas just joined me at the last Neighborhood Association meeting at that very same area. And so they were saying that their kids were playing on the railroad tracks right behind their the apartment complex that many of them live at over on Minnie. And so we approached the owner who owned that lot. His name was Vinnie Tran, I believe. And Mr. Tran wasn't able to finance any development there. And he's right here in the audience. Are you there? There you are. I wanted to thank him personally because we approached him at no expense to the city to allow us to use that piece of land and turn it into a park for those residents and those children in the Cornerstone Mini area. And he, along with Barry Cottle from CNC Development, Mariners Lighthouse Church, and the Neighborhood Association there got together and created a park out of an empty lot where people were just throwing debris and really not using it, and we put it to some real positive use. So I wanted to thank you, Mr. Tran, for being such a friend of the city and allowing us to use that for 5 or 6 years. And you guys, the church helped finance it. I think they got so excited they bought some synthetic turf, and now they have community gardens there. They play soccer there. But this was all done just because we had a very kind person who allowed us to use his land. And thank you on behalf of all those children and all those families from Cornerstone Mini who were able to enjoy themselves there at that site and get some relief, because it's a very park-poor space in the in that part of the city. I think it's probably one of the most challenged areas. But thank you all. Thank you to the staff as well, and thank you for coordinating that, Mr. Moet. So I remember, Mr. Mayor, you said people were going to get so attached to that park that it was going to be hard to take it back when Mr. Tran finally found a developer. But look, I think this is the best ending that we could possibly expect, and it's going to be one more beautiful open space for our kids to enjoy. But thank you for the use of that for so many years, Mr. Tran. We really appreciate it.
And thank you for those comments. And I'll note that I think Mr. Tran is in the back smiling, and the whole community is. Thank you for what you've done all these years. Gotten a lot of use out of that property.
At no expense to the city.
Yes, at the best expense of all, which is just a donation in essence. Thank you for that. So with that, I believe we had a motion a second. Right. Those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed, motion carries. Madam City Clerk, are we on 75B?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, this time in place for a public hearing on 75B. It's to provide financing for acquisition, rehabilitation, improvement, equipping of a 58 multi-family rental housing project, generally known as Henninger Village Apartments. Do we have any written communications?
I have not received any.
All right. I now officially open up the public hearing to make the city attorney happy. And I now would ask if anybody wished to address us. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing, bring it back to council for consideration. I would entertain a motion.
Move the item.
Second by Solario. Is that okay, Jose? Yep. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. City manager comments.
Public comments.
Public comments. Deborah Ashby, please, followed by Elizabeth Hansberg, followed by Kim McPeck. Is Deborah here? Elizabeth here? Seeing Kim is not here? I'm kidding. Just checking. I knew exactly where he was sitting even. Corey Nelson. After that, and Ilya Seglin, I believe Igli and Robert are gone. So go ahead, Kim.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. 0.0. Think about that for a minute. A few years back, the city was on the verge of bankruptcy, and we were asked to go into our pocketbook and help the city out of the financial mess that we were in. We gave back raises, overtime. We gave up people. We paid more for our retirement. We sat home for about 480 hours without coming to work and without getting paid. Definitely a severe cut to the service for our community. No other organization gave back to the city as much as the employees of the SEIU. It is time that our city leaders show us some appreciation, because I will tell you this, it is not a good feeling to reach in your pocket and only feel the bone on your leg. All the fat and all the meat's been cut away. Send us a message and show us how you appreciate our work. For a fellow SEIU member that had to leave, he wanted to tell you that we've heard the city leadership say for months how we have a shortfall when it comes to money. Today we're hearing there's a dim light at the end of the tunnel, and the shortfall is much smaller than previously believed. But even before we knew we were going to fill some of the budget shortfalls, you found a way to give one of our bargaining units a nice raise. They said at least a third of those members got over an 8% raise. Why are you willing to find money for them and nobody else? Our employees work their fingers to the bone to create a strong quality of life for our residents of Santa Ana, and that's because a lot of us live here, and that is why we love the city, and we hope you can start to love us. Another employee that had to leave wanted to tell you, when something doesn't make sense, you have to question why. Why? We are not naive. We see behind the curtains. Is this council sending a message to us that we have to support one of your campaigns to get more money in a fair contract?
Thank you, Kim.
All right, thank you. 0.0.
Anybody else, Iglia? Corey Nelson, are you here? After Iglia, then Robert, then Tony Carrillo.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm here as a representative of Santa Ana Pony Baseball, but on behalf of SEIU. Public safety is important, no doubt. No one doubts that. We need our officers, but we would be playing in the dirt if we did not have the city employees. Quality of life in Santa Ana lies with our city employees. As a board member of Santa Ana Pony, the largest youth baseball organization in the city, I can attest our city employees don't just collect a check. They work, they get creative on how to stretch resources to help our kids. In baseball, you learn the value of team play. We rise and fall together. We are a team. No one is more valuable than the other. Let's show gratitude to the city employees and with your action, demonstrate that they are a part of Santa Ana team as well. Without them, these green spaces that we've been talking about this evening wouldn't be green. They wouldn't be what they are today for our youth. We've talked a lot about our youth, what we need to do with our youth. We wouldn't have baseball. We wouldn't have football. You wouldn't have soccer. You wouldn't have green spots. So think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica? Tony, you're next, and then Monica. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but being a carpenter for over 10 years and saw what you guys did with the trades earlier today, I want to commend you for that, to invest in our community. Those folks live here. They want to be part of what the community is doing, as we do. We not only work here, if you notice, over 50%, don't quote me, but it's closer to 60% of our membership lives in this community, spends their money in this community. A lot of us take couch vacations in this community, so we don't go very far. So all the money that we get from this city and our salaries and our benefits are spent right here and invested in our kids and in this community. So when you think about reinvestment and what the dividends are for the construction labor companies to come in here and spend that kind of revenue here by their members working here and hiring within the community, we also do the same thing. So I would like you to think about us as part of this community, not just as your employees, but we support this community, we love this community, we live in this community, and we live and die with this community. If this community doesn't succeed, we don't succeed, you don't succeed. So I like for you to take a moment and think about that. So thank you.
Thank you. Monica?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We've been here before a few times now at this council meeting, and we're here again. And in summary, I want to just share a couple key thoughts on behalf of our chapter. It's been a good day today. I think it's good, the actions taken on 55B. That's good. It's good for the middle class, the working class, the community here, the residents. It really is important because that economy and what you do with that helps everybody here. So it's win-win, actually. And further, there have been good decisions or decisions made that have been helpful to our other brothers and sisters as well. And so, okay, now, here we are, and this group here, SEIU 721, Santa Ana chapter, did the most during the recession. And we made those contributions because we care, because we're here, we're dedicated, and that, there's still that hole in many people's families' pockets on that. So what we have put forth in what we've been discussing is so reasonable when you look at what it is compared to other asks that others have made. So with all of that, with respect, really please remember that, because we are incredibly dedicated and care and have been very valuable to the city and this community. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to you remembering that and taking care of all your employees and considering equity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, I think we go to the city manager's report.
No comments for this evening.
Thank you. Council comments. Let's start on the right, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And in the spirit of Mr. Cortez's comments, I think I'll be even more brief and say good night.
All right, we're on a roll. Now let's hear from Councilor Tinajero.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to report that our schools have started, they're in session now. We had a great opening day at the school district. And we want to thank all of our police officers who have helped out with that, and traffic control, and with all of our community leaders out there who have been helping with that as well. But there's a lot of great things happening right now at the Santa Ana Unified School District, and there's a lot of great things happening with our Santa Ana College. I do want to give a little special shout out, and we're going to be asking them to come. We want to recognize them here. There's a partnership between the Santa Ana Unified School District and the Santa Ana College, where they just cut the ribbon over at Advanced Learning Academy right off of 4th Street. It's a school where it's self-paced. The students are moving at their own pace. Some are more advanced in math, and they go a little further. I think Councilmember Benavides' son is at that school. That's why he's so smart. And what they're doing now is those students are going to be able to graduate with a AA degree. They'll be able to graduate from high school with an AA degree. So it's just another great opportunity. I think that it behooves us to continue to work with the college when it comes to Centennial Park. I disagree with one of the speakers that came today. I think they're a great partner, and they've done a lot for our community to assure that especially our adult education center is a center that is well known and is well used. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I want to say thank you and good night.
Thank you. Let's go to the left. Councilor Solorio, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things. First, I've been asked to help promote the next Santa Ana Connected Council event. It is going to be on Wednesday, August 30th, 6:30 p.m. at the Rancho building there on 2323 North Broadway. Talks about parks, public spaces, homelessness, pending developments, the coyote population that's worrying some, and I'll be there as well. So look forward to seeing many of you there again. That's on August 30th. It's a Wednesday night. Second, I do want to thank everybody that came out. You know, we had a lot of workers internally and externally that came out. I know at the end we had our brothers and sisters from SEIU, and the good news is that with this U.S. Marshals contract, there's a little bit more revenue in the city, and I think that the City Council is mindful of the good work that everybody does, throughout our organization. And, we look forward to having you provide the excellent services that you do in our community. And again, we want to let you know that your voices are heard. And, hopefully in the future we can continue to work on revenue and other budget opportunities to keep growing the city so we can do more. And not just buy-in for our employees, but also for the residents that, have many needs. So thank you.
Thank you. With that, let me go on to Councilmember Villegas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to say thank you to all the city staff who were working at the talent show contest where I was a judge. There was 6 different rec centers that were present. It was a packed house. It was great, wonderful. The staff worked very, very hard to put that together. The kids had a great time. All the families had a wonderful time. Heck, I had a great time. I can't wait to go back next year. Hopefully they'll ask me. If not, I'll attend as one of the spectators. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And congratulations to all the kids and all the winners. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everybody for all the speakers who came out and addressed us on a variety of different issues. I think as council, we were able to address a number of key issues, and it's a great thing when we're able to come together and both on new agreements and just even the 65A item, continuing that item so we could discuss addressing issues of security lighting, security cameras, and also addressing some of the needs in our community and our parks. And our employees as well. I echo some of the comments that my colleagues made tonight in closing comments. It's important to acknowledge, address, and support employees and recognize their contributions to providing for services in our community, quality of life, and many of whom do live in town. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to address as we work on closing negotiations, addressing some of the ideas that they're presenting as well. Part of what we need to do, support our community, is to shop local, support local business, support local jobs. We want to encourage everyone out there to shop in Santa Ana. And with that, have a great night.
Thank you. And with that, what I'm going to do is we're going to adjourn this evening in honor of 3 different individuals. And for the first one, I want to call on Councilor Martina Hero to say a few words. Then I'm going to follow up after that. Please go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, just before we continue, I know we may be going into closed session again, so you mentioned we're going to adjourn, so I don't know.
Well, we're going to at least for the TV camera, and then we'll decide afterwards what action we take and if we report out. But right now, for the folks watching on TV, I just want to go through the
adjourn memories. Okay.
Correct.
Very good.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for yielding that time. I want to adjourn this meeting in memory of Hortensia Urquiza Gutierrez. She was born on January 22nd, 1949, and passed away on July 4th of this year. She's survived by her husband of 20 years, her 4 children, 11 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, and 1 additional on the way. Hortensia was affectionately referred to as Nana by everyone, even neighborhood children. Her joy in life were her grandchildren. She decided to stop working when her grandchildren were born, and she even purchased a 12-seat van in order to accommodate them all. She lived in the city since 1978 on Evergreen Street next to her best friend of 30 years. Hortensia was the type of individual that never said no and would always help anyone in need. She passed away very peacefully, taking her last breath surrounded by all her children, grandchildren, and husband. And so I would like to adjourn this meeting in her memory tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And following, I would also like to mention Jerry Ayers. Jerry worked in the city. He was in the animal control officer for 33 years. He lived in the city for 60 years, 55 of them with his lovely wife, Carol. He also proudly served as member of the Marine Corps and was always just a selfless individual. So we wish to extend our heartfelt condolences to Carol Ayers and friends and family. Also, retired Santa Motor Officer Ron Moreno. He retired December of 2016 after distinguishing himself with a 34-year career here. He passed away suddenly on Sunday, just 8 months after his retirement. He will be affectionately remembered, and I wish to, on behalf of the City Council, give our condolences to his loving wife, Gina, and their 3 sons that also survive him. So with that, Madam Clerk, we're going to go back into closed session, and then we'll determine if we come back and report out or not. So right now I'm going to leave the meeting open. We're going to go into closed session. Then we're going to determine afterwards if we report out or not. If we don't, then at that time we'll officially adjourn.